Imagine, for a moment, that you are confronted with the stark reality of your own mortality, the crushing weight of your existence bearing down on you, all the meaning you thought you had, dissolving into thin air like a vapor. What if there was someone who had an answer to the great mystery of existence, someone who had navigated the darkest corners of the human psyche and emerged with a profound understanding of life's deepest questions? We often hear of solutions to this great riddle, but what if that solution wasn't what you expect? We speak of Leo Tolstoy as a literary titan, an author of some of the greatest novels ever written, a mind capable of penetrating the essence of human nature. He has often been presented as someone who had somehow solved the riddle of the universe. However, his true legacy lies not in a grand solution, but in a relentless pursuit of truth, a journey that mirrors the very struggles that we ourselves face. His life was a microcosm of the human condition, a testament to the fact that even the greatest minds can grapple with the same fundamental questions as any human being. By understanding his search for meaning, we can discover a path towards our own more authentic and meaningful existence. This is not to say that Tolstoy offers some easy way out, but rather a means to confront the absurdity and challenges of existence and to make one's life have true meaning, a life that is not determined by superficial social norms. Tolstoy, the celebrated author of War and Peace and Anna Karenina, was a man of immense talent, born into Russian aristocracy, living a life of privilege and fame. However, his immense success only amplified the void within him. This is the pattern that we will see repeated again and again in his life, an existential crisis followed by an intense period of self-inquiry. Though he was a celebrated writer, he was still fundamentally a human being who faced the same fundamental questions that we all must face. He, too, was confronted with the limits of human comprehension. His life shows us that material success alone cannot satisfy our deepest longings, and that the search for purpose is something that we must each undertake. Tolstoy's philosophical journey was not about abstract theorizing, but a profound engagement with the core issues of human existence. His unique interpretation of Christianity and anarchism led him to reject traditional authority and to critique social injustice and inequality, deeply challenging the established norms of his time. He believed that true meaning was not to be found in material wealth or social status, but rather in simple living, service to others, and confronting one's own mortality. He was deeply moved by the plight of the poor and believed that the path to inner peace lay in living a life dedicated to ethical action. This was a radical departure from the expectations placed upon him by his own social class, and provides the foundations for a pattern that we will see repeated throughout the video. His life reveals that the search for meaning is not a destination, but a process, a journey filled with both inner conflict and spiritual awakening. His outward success masked a deep internal struggle, a profound dissatisfaction that drove him to question everything, including his own literary achievements. This constant tension will be a recurring theme throughout our exploration of his life. Tolstoy's approach is not about easy answers, but a deep, challenging, and ultimately rewarding path towards a more profound understanding of ourselves and the world around us. He demands that we do inner work and have a lifelong commitment, not looking for some cheap and easy solution. The mystery surrounding his solution lies in understanding this process and its implications for our own lives. What if Tolstoy's solution isn't what we expect? And what if it challenges us to re-examine everything we thought we knew about life and meaning? Tolstoy's journey begins with a profound encounter with the apparent meaninglessness of existence itself. Imagine achieving literary fame, accumulating wealth, and yet still feeling an overwhelming sense of emptiness, a void that cannot be filled by external achievements. This was Tolstoy's reality after the publication of his great novels, War and Peace and Anna Karenina. He found himself wrestling with the absurdity of life, questioning the foundations of meaning that society had presented him. He was consumed by the stark reality of death, the ultimate horizon that casts a shadow over all human endeavors. This experience initiated a profound existential crisis, a breakdown of his previously held beliefs, and a catalyst for his relentless search for deeper truth. This marks the beginning of his spiritual awakening, a process fueled by the realization that traditional measures of success were ultimately hollow. Like many others before him, Tolstoy understood that the questions he was asking were the questions that all humans must face, and he went on a journey to confront them head-on. Have you ever felt this same hollowness, this same creeping sense that what you've achieved is ultimately meaningless? Tolstoy's struggle mirrors that of humanity itself, and his quest for meaning is not just a personal journey, but a model for our own. This existential crisis propelled Tolstoy into an intense search for faith, one that defied the confines of organized religion. He could not find solace in the Russian Orthodox Church, finding its dogmas and rituals to be empty and contradictory to the true essence of Christianity. He came to believe that faith is not about adherence to a set of beliefs or doctrines, but a personal and direct relationship with God. He sought a deeper understanding of Christ's teachings, not as prescribed by the Church, but as revealed through personal experience and ethical action. He wrote, "I believe in this. I believe that the will of God is that we should love one another and that everything else is worthless." Tolstoy saw the teachings of Christ not as a system of theology, but as a guide for how to live, emphasizing love, compassion, and service. He believed that true faith must be manifested in our actions. His rejection of the institutional church was a radical step, one that underscores his commitment to seeking truth, irrespective of societal norms. Tolstoy's faith was not a passive acceptance of dogma, but rather a continual and active engagement with the divine, a practice that demanded that one embody ethical principles. Have you ever considered that true faith might not lie within the walls of a church, but within the depths of your own heart? Tolstoy's unique interpretation of faith led him to an unwavering commitment to morality and action. He believed that one's actions must align with one's moral convictions, that true faith must be expressed through ethical living. His rejection of violence and advocacy for non-resistance stemmed directly from his understanding of Christ's teachings. He wrote, "The sole meaning of life is to serve humanity by contributing to the establishment of the kingdom of God, which can only be done by love." He lived out this belief by giving up his wealth, embracing manual labor, and working alongside peasants. These actions were not mere gestures of charity, but were rooted in his deeply held convictions that one cannot be truly happy without serving others. This direct translation of faith into action highlights the significance of personal responsibility in his philosophy. His belief was that true meaning is not found in abstract philosophical debates, but in daily living, in helping those who are in need, and in striving to live a life guided by love and compassion. His dedication was not just a matter of words, but one of concrete action. He acted out his beliefs even to the detriment of his own social standing. How often do we separate our words from our actions, and how might our lives change if we committed ourselves to living with moral integrity? Tolstoy's philosophical and spiritual beliefs naturally led to a scathing critique of the society around him. He saw the immense social injustice and inequality that pervaded Russia, a society sharply divided between the wealthy elite and the impoverished masses. He argued that the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of the few was a source of corruption and human suffering, a fundamental injustice that was morally repugnant. He witnessed firsthand the exploitation of the peasantry and the moral decay of the aristocracy, an imbalance that fueled his sense of outrage. This was not just a political position for Tolstoy, it was a moral imperative, deeply rooted in his philosophical and spiritual understanding of the world. This imbalance, he believed, was not just an unfortunate circumstance, but a symptom of a deeper spiritual malady, a perversion of the true purpose of life. He saw the societal structures as obstacles to the fulfillment of human potential and the realization of the kingdom of God on earth. How do our own societies reflect this imbalance, and how does our own sense of justice and ethics compel us to confront it? Furthermore, Tolstoy was a vehement critic of materialism, viewing the pursuit of material possessions as a path to spiritual emptiness. He believed that the relentless focus on wealth and status was the reason that people had lost touch with what truly mattered in life: love, compassion, and service to others. He saw the corrupting influence of money and power as something that separated people from each other, creating artificial hierarchies and barriers that undermined genuine human connection. This wasn't just a critique of the wealthy. He believed that the pursuit of material wealth, regardless of one's social class, led to a profound dissatisfaction and loss of meaning. He argued that when people were obsessed with the external, they neglected their inner lives and their spiritual growth. This led him to embrace a life of simplicity, renouncing his aristocratic lifestyle and choosing to live amongst the peasants, seeking fulfillment in more meaningful and tangible pursuits. Have you ever stopped to consider whether the pursuit of material possessions actually makes us less happy? Tolstoy was convinced that it did, and that this pursuit often came at the cost of our own spiritual well-being. For Tolstoy, manual labor was not merely a necessity of life, but an essential component of finding meaning and connecting to one's true humanity. He idealized the work of the peasants, viewing their connection to the earth and their simple way of life as a model for true fulfillment. He embraced farm work, finding that physical labor grounded him and provided a profound sense of purpose that was absent from his previous life. He believed that work connected individuals to their bodies and to the natural world, fostering an appreciation for the simple things in life. Tolstoy saw that the work of the peasants had a direct purpose, and that they were not removed from the fruits of their labor, which led to a sense of fulfillment that was not found in the meaningless pursuits of the upper class. He believed that manual labor was a way of bridging the divide between the intellectual and the physical, leading to a more integrated and balanced life. This was not just a theoretical concept for Tolstoy, but something that he lived out in his daily life. He was convinced that only through such an immersion in the physical world can we find inner peace and connect with our shared humanity. Do you believe that there is value in engaging in physical work, and that doing so can help us live more fulfilled and meaningful lives? Tolstoy believed that confronting our mortality is essential for truly living, and for fully appreciating what is truly important in life. He wrote extensively about death, particularly in his novella, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, which depicts the story of a man who, in the face of death, realizes the emptiness of his life and the importance of living authentically. He believed that by coming to terms with the inevitability of death, we can focus on what truly matters: love, compassion, and service to others. He saw death not as something to be feared, but as a catalyst for living a more meaningful life. In this way, death acts as the ultimate mirror, reflecting back to us our own shortcomings and inspiring us to live with greater purpose and urgency. This idea underscores the significance of making the most of the limited time that we have on this earth. By understanding that life is finite, we are prompted to examine how we are using our time and energy, and whether we are pursuing goals that align with our deepest values. Are we truly living, or are we merely sleepwalking through our lives, putting off what truly matters until it's too late? Tolstoy saw authenticity and self-inquiry as essential components of a meaningful life. He stressed the importance of being true to oneself, of engaging in continuous self-examination, and questioning the societal norms that often prevent us from living authentically. He understood that to discover one's true purpose in life, one must go inwards. This meant being honest about one's own faults and weaknesses and striving to overcome them. This was not an easy path for Tolstoy, but it was an essential aspect of his life and philosophy. It meant constantly challenging his own beliefs, pushing past his comfort zones, and refusing to blindly follow the crowd. This was not an abstract philosophical concept for him, but a daily practice, a continuous journey of self-discovery and self-improvement. He believed that by engaging in this inner work, we could uncover our true selves and live lives that are in alignment with our deepest values. Are we truly living according to our authentic selves, or are we living according to societal expectations that have been placed on us? Tolstoy's philosophy is not just theoretical. It provides actionable steps for those who seek to live more meaningful lives. He encourages us to engage in practices such as journaling to understand one's own thoughts, actions of service to others to cultivate compassion, and mindfulness to help us focus on the present moment. This is not just advice, but a practical methodology for discovering purpose. By giving our attention to what is happening in the present moment, we are not distracted by the pull of our past traumas or by the fears of the future. He believed that by cultivating these practices, we can transform our lives, aligning our actions with our values, and finding a deeper sense of fulfillment. He encourages us to live deliberately and consciously, constantly reevaluating how we are spending our time and energy. By combining both inner reflection and outer action, we can embody the principles of love, compassion, and authenticity, which were so central to Tolstoy's own worldview. How might your life change if you committed to these practices, and what new insights might they reveal to you? Tolstoy's philosophical ideas are reflected throughout his literary works. In War and Peace, he explores the futility of war and the search for meaning amidst chaos. In Anna Karenina, he delves into the destructive consequences of societal expectations and the longing for authentic love. His short story, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, powerfully illustrates the importance of confronting mortality and living a life guided by truth and compassion. These works are not just stories, but living testaments to Tolstoy's philosophy, providing a glimpse into the minds of characters who struggle with the same fundamental questions that he himself faced. This shows that his philosophical ideas were not isolated from his creative work, and that both the philosophical and the creative aspects of his life were intertwined. By delving into his literary examples, we gain a deeper understanding of his views on love, loss, and the meaning of life. These works offer us not just intellectual stimulation, but also profound emotional insight, inviting us to examine our own lives with greater depth and honesty. Can you see the reflection of his philosophical struggle in his characters, and how his own personal experiences informed his artistic vision? Central to Tolstoy's philosophy is the concept of the kingdom of God within you. This wasn't a reference to a physical place, but a state of being, a path to enlightenment that is found by connecting with one's inner self and by cultivating love, compassion, and service to others. Tolstoy believed that this kingdom is accessible to all, regardless of one's social standing or religious affiliation. This was not some grand abstract concept, but a deeply personal and practical path to peace. He believed that true peace could only be found within oneself, and that this inner peace would manifest in one's outer world, creating a more just and compassionate society. This focus on the inner realm is an essential aspect of his philosophy and emphasizes the importance of self-reflection in the journey of discovery. By turning inwards, we can discover the divine spark within us, as well as the path to true and lasting fulfillment. What might your life look like if you were able to fully embrace this kingdom within you? And how might it transform your understanding of yourself and the world around you? The patterns that we've discussed, the cycle of existential crisis and spiritual awakening, the duality of materialism and spirituality, the pattern of simple living and meaningful action, and the contrast between personal fulfillment and societal expectation, are deeply interconnected, all pointing towards his unique approach to meaning and purpose. They are not isolated aspects of his philosophy, but are threads that are interwoven throughout his life, demonstrating the consistency of his beliefs. These patterns reveal that Tolstoy's journey was not linear, but a complex process of confronting inner and outer conflicts. This highlights the challenging and dynamic nature of the search for truth, underscoring that this search is rarely straightforward. It also shows us that Tolstoy's philosophy was not just a set of abstract ideas, but a lived experience, where his beliefs were constantly tested and refined through internal conflicts and external challenges. This constant push and pull between different aspects of his being reveals the depth of his journey. Can you see how these patterns intertwine and build upon each other, revealing a complex and nuanced vision of life? Ultimately, Tolstoy's solution to the universe was not about finding a grand answer, but about choosing to live authentically and to engage in a lifelong process of exploration. It was not a destination, but a journey, a practice of continuously questioning, confronting, and striving to live according to his deepest values. It was about embracing the mystery of life, rather than seeking a definitive conclusion. It meant accepting the absurdity and the pain, the joy and the beauty, and choosing to make a meaningful contribution to the world, even up until the moment of his death. He did not find a simple answer to the questions he posed, but a way of living that honored the fundamental human need for meaning, as well as the inherent uncertainty of life. He was not seeking to provide us with a solution, but a way of living authentically and engaging with the mystery. This reframes our initial question, shifting our perspective on what a true solution entails. And so, the question remains, what does it mean to truly live? Tolstoy's journey, as we have seen, was not about arriving at a single, definitive answer to the universe's great mysteries, but a lifelong commitment to self-examination, moral action, and a deep rejection of the superficial values he once held so dear. His so-called solution wasn't a grand philosophical principle, but rather a way of being, a constant engagement with life's complexities, instead of seeking easy answers. His life was a testament to the idea that the journey itself is the destination, and that meaning is not found in some distant place, but in the way we choose to live each moment. The patterns we've explored, the cycle of existential crisis and spiritual awakening, the duality of materialism and spirituality, the pattern of simple living and meaningful action, and the contrast between personal fulfillment and societal expectation, were not just abstract themes, but were the very fabric of his existence, the recurring motifs that shaped his inner and outer worlds. Each crisis he faced led to a renewed spiritual awakening, driving him further away from the material comforts of his aristocratic life, and deeper into the pursuit of a life of genuine meaning and purpose. He demonstrated that these patterns are not just abstract concepts, but a reflection of the very human condition and of the struggles that all humans must go through. His embrace of simple living and meaningful action was not a fleeting experiment, but a fundamental shift in his values and priorities, an attempt to live in harmony with his deeply held beliefs. Ultimately, Tolstoy's solution wasn't about what he found, but how he lived, and that this way of living is the ultimate answer. Tolstoy's journey was not confined to the 19th century, but speaks directly to our contemporary struggles for meaning and purpose. The questions he grappled with, questions about life, death, faith, morality, and justice, are just as relevant today as they were then. His critiques of social injustice, inequality, and the corrupting influence of wealth and power resonate deeply in our modern world, where we often find ourselves grappling with similar issues and dilemmas. The cycles of crisis and awakening, the dualities of the material and spiritual, the pattern of simple living, and the contrast between personal fulfillment and societal expectations are all still very present in the human experience, and that understanding these patterns can provide insights into our own lives as well. The patterns that were so fundamental to Tolstoy's life are also patterns that we encounter in our own lives, a reflection of the universal human condition. Tolstoy's journey shows that the path towards meaning is paved with challenges, conflicts, and hard choices, and this idea provides a framework for understanding the complexities of life. It's a reminder that our own quest for meaning is not a solitary endeavor, but a shared human experience. The understanding of these patterns can guide the way that we choose to live our lives in order to find our own unique way of expressing them. By taking responsibility for our actions and confronting our own inner challenges head-on, we are able to give meaning to our lives, just as Tolstoy did. He did not passively accept the world around him, but actively engaged with it, seeking to create a life that was in harmony with his deepest values. He demonstrated that meaning is not something that can be found in abstract principles, but in taking ownership of one's choices and their implications. This is made evident by the choices that Tolstoy made, such as giving away his wealth, working with the peasants, and pursuing spiritual meaning outside of the Orthodox Church. He was able to create meaning because he made choices and took responsibility for them, and we must do the same to live a truly meaningful life. Tolstoy's life was a practical demonstration of how to embody one's ideals and values in the face of adversity, and that his is an example that we can all follow. It is through this active engagement with life that we create a narrative that is meaningful and relevant, and that helps us to transcend our daily struggles. The ultimate goal is not just to passively receive information, but to be inspired and empowered to seek one's own unique path to meaning and fulfillment. And so, the threads of Tolstoy's existential questions, his unique faith, his social critique, and his emphasis on practical living are not separate strands, but form a cohesive and interconnected whole. His rejection of materialism was a direct consequence of his spiritual awakening, and his focus on spiritual values led him to embrace simplicity and service. His quest for an authentic life was not a fleeting whim, but a deeply rooted conviction that shaped every aspect of his existence. The patterns that we identified were not isolated instances, but were woven together to create a rich and textured tapestry of a life. This complex interplay demonstrates the holistic nature of his philosophy, in which every aspect was connected to the larger whole. Ultimately, his life was a complex and dynamic journey, a continual process of growth and evolution that was shaped by his interactions with his internal conflicts, as well as the external world around him. This understanding shows that his life was far from simple, and that his apparent complexities make sense when looked at from the perspective of his repeating patterns. His life and his writings were a journey of discovery that was a testament to what is possible when we seek to live life to the fullest. The opening question that we posed at the beginning of this journey, what was Tolstoy's solution to the universe, is not answered by a single groundbreaking revelation, but by a life lived in accordance with the principles that he found most important. His solution was not a destination, but a journey, a process of continuous self-discovery and ethical engagement with the world. By rephrasing the initial question, we have revealed a deeper truth, that the solution lies not in finding all the answers, but in how we choose to live our lives, which is a much more powerful and meaningful approach. The tension created by the mystery of his solution was always a matter of expecting a certain kind of answer, when in fact the answer was not about solving life's problems, but about living through them with purpose and intention. The search itself becomes the meaning, and shows us that the questions are more important than any answer could ever be. By embracing this idea, we transform the initial tension into a powerful understanding that transcends the simplistic need for a concrete solution, and instead, we find freedom within the process itself. So, how will you now choose to live your life given these ideas? What actions will you take to explore your authentic self and seek the meaning that you crave? These questions are not meant to be theoretical, but practical. By applying the ideas of Tolstoy to your own life, you have the capacity to create lasting and meaningful change. Consider how you can incorporate service to others, self-reflection, and authentic expression into your daily life, and how you can bring greater awareness and compassion to all of your interactions with the world. By living deliberately and purposefully, you will see that meaning is not something that needs to be found, but something that is created by the choices that we make each day. By taking control of your life, and by integrating meaning into it, You have the capacity to transform not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. Now is the time to embrace the ideas that Tolstoy explored in his life and in his work. This exploration doesn't end here, but it can serve as a catalyst for further study and self-reflection. Share your thoughts, your struggles, and your victories, as you are not alone on this journey. The path to understanding is something that we can all share together. Join the discussion and commit to your own journey of self-discovery, as we all have the potential for transformation within us. By supporting each other, we can continue to grow and evolve and move towards a more meaningful existence. Seek out Tolstoy's works and explore other philosophical traditions and ideas, as the search for meaning is a continuous and ongoing process. By immersing yourself in the words and ideas of great thinkers, and by turning to your own self-reflection, you will continue to uncover new insights and perspectives, as the meaning of life is something that we must continue to engage with throughout our lives. The journey of meaning is an ongoing process, and one that is deeply personal and unique to each of us.